There were some ideas exchanged today, some viewpoints that they expressed to us that I'll take back to the president for his consideration, and hopefully it will lead to something. I don't want to overpromise. I mean, again, as I said, this is a conflict that's been going on now for over 3 years, and as has already been pointed out by one of the questions here, we've seen an acceleration of attacks. I think it's probably the largest drone attack in a city close to the Polish border, actually, so it's a pretty deep strike. And again, I mean, every time you see this in the headlines and people die, it reminds you of why the president wants this war to end. As he has said from the beginning, his #1 interest here is to stop people from dying and the destruction that's ongoing every single day.
Will you meet with your Chinese counterpart here this week to speak to him about that?
Yeah, I think we're working on that. Maybe we'll meet, and obviously we'll talk about it. You know, I think the Chinese clearly have been supportive of the Russian effort, and I think that generally they've been willing to help them as much as they can without getting caught. But people in Europe and other parts of the world have noticed. But in the end, this peace, if it's possible and doable, will happen between Ukraine and Russia, and we're willing to do whatever we can to help bring it to an end.
What was your sense today after your meeting, the PMC meeting with the ASEAN foreign ministers, about how big an irritant the tariffs are to U.S. relations, both with ASEAN as a bloc, but individual countries?
Well, I think, look, two things to understand. Number one is these letters that are going out and these trade changes are happening with every country in the world. I mean, it's basically every country in the world. The president's been very clear, and he has been, frankly, if you go back to videos of him speaking in the 80s about his feeling that the state of global trade is unfair to the United States, that for far too long we allowed these imbalances to develop. We are the world's largest consumer. We're a huge market where people export things to us. And with these huge and unsustainable imbalances have developed with countries all over the world. And so this is a globalized effort to reset U.S. trade in a way that's beneficial to the United States, and not just in dollars and cents, but also in our own domestic industrial capacity. So this has been made clear to countries around the world. We were coming up upon the middle of this month, and the markets demand certainty, and so these letters set a baseline. Now, obviously, that does not foreclose the opportunity for individual countries to enter into negotiations that perhaps can adjust those numbers. But in the end, the president still remains very committed to a rebalancing of trade that's fair to America and also at the same time protects our own industrial capabilities. Everybody got a letter, and in some cases, some of these countries got a letter where their tariff rate is lower than some of their neighbors or maybe a country somewhere else in the world, so it might even serve as an advantage. But of course it's raised, it's an issue, but I wouldn't say it solely defines our relationship with many of these countries. There are a lot of other issues that we work together on, and I think there was great enthusiasm that we were here and that we're a part of this. A reminder that next week we'll have another high-ranking delegation, including Secretary Lutnick, Deputy Landau from the Department of State, will be traveling to Japan for the World Expo there, and will be involved in talks there as well. You know, these engagements are very important to us, and we're going to continue to stay very committed because this, as I said to all of our partners, that this notion or idea that the United States would ever be distracted by the Indo-Pacific or even Southeast Asia is impossible. You can't be, maybe it doesn't always, wars get more attention, but it's impossible to not be focused. This is where much of the story of the 21st century is going to be written. This is where 2/3 of economic growth is going to happen over the next 25 or 30 years. And many of the countries in Southeast Asia, not only are they some of the youngest countries in the world, but they're about to see an enormous expansion of their labor markets, their labor pool, number of workers. This is a historic, once-in-a-generation opportunity, not just for these countries to revolutionize themselves from an economic standpoint, but further strengthen our relationship. We have over 6,000 American companies that have invested heavily in these economies over the last 20 or 30 years. We're not abandoning those relationships. On the contrary, we want to strengthen and build upon them.